On Christmas Eve, a young girl rushes into the fire station carrying newborn twin babies in her arms. Upon revealing who the infants are, everyone present collapses into tears. The scent of cinnamon and baked apples filled the Thompson home that Christmas Eve. Snowflakes danced outside the window, creating a perfect backdrop for the festive night. 10-year-old Emma sat on the plush rug in the living room, making funny faces at her 3-month-old twin brothers, Ethan and Oliver. The babies cooed and giggled, their bright eyes reflecting the twinkling Christmas decorations. "Emma, sweetheart, can you watch the boys for just another minute?" Sarah called from the kitchen, her gentle tone mixed with the tinkling sounds of silverware and pans. "Sure, Mom," Emma replied, tickling the chubby bellies of the twins. In the kitchen, Michael, still wearing his old firefighter's coat over his festive shirt, wrapped his arms around Sarah from behind as she put the finishing touches on the turkey. 25 years in the fire department, and this is the first Christmas Eve I'm spending entirely at home, Michael murmured, kissing Sarah's neck. Sarah turned, smiling. "And it couldn't be more perfect, with our whole family together." A sudden boom made the couple pull apart, alarmed. Michael ran into the living room, Sarah close on his heels. Emma stood there, eyes wide with fear. "Dad, what was that?" Before Michael could respond, an orange flash lit up the window, followed by intense heat seeming to radiate from the walls. "Fire!" Michael shouted, his firefighter instincts kicking in. "Sarah, grab the babies. Emma, with me." Emma froze, panic taking hold. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the house as flames began licking at the curtains. "Emma," Michael's voice cut through the fear. "Remember what I taught you. Breathe deep. Stay calm." Her father's words penetrated the haze of terror. Emma nodded, taking a long, steady breath. "Good, sweetheart. Now, get the emergency blanket from the closet and wrap the twins." With trembling hands, Emma grabbed the fire-resistant blanket her father always kept nearby. Sarah placed Ethan and Oliver in Emma's arms, tears rolling down her cheeks as she coughed in the smoke, rapidly filling the room. "Go with your sister, Michael," Sarah shouted over the crackle of flames. "Not without you," Michael replied, pulling Sarah closer. Emma, the twins safely in her arms, looked at her parents. The fear in their eyes was palpable, but there was something else. Determination. "Emma, run," Michael ordered. "Remember the escape plan. Head to the fire station. Don't look back." With one last anguished look at her parents, Emma ran toward the back door, the babies crying in her arms. The heat was intense, the smoke thick. She could hear wood creaking and collapsing behind her. Emerging into the backyard, Emma gasped at the cold night air. The snow beneath her feet melted from the inferno behind her. Without pausing, she ran, her bare feet sinking into the snow as she crossed the yard. The streets were in chaos. Neighbors poured from their homes, shouting and pointing. The fire wasn't confined to the Thompsons' house. Several nearby homes were also ablaze. Emma kept running, her lungs burning from the effort and the smoke. The twins cried, their tiny faces red with heat and fear. Her father's words echoed in her mind. "Go to the fire station, don't look back." But she couldn't help it. In the middle of the street, Emma turned. Her home was swallowed by flames, a hellish vision against the night sky. For a brief moment, she thought she saw 2 figures in the upstairs window, embracing. "Mom! Dad!" Emma screamed, her voice lost in the roar of the fire and the chaos around her. A deafening crash cut through the night as the roof collapsed. Emma felt as if her heart had been torn from her chest. Tears blurred her vision as she forced herself to keep running. The streets passed by in a blur, the weight of the twins in her arms seeming to grow with every step. Sirens wailed in the distance, drawing closer. Emma focused on the image of the fire station in her mind. That was where she needed to go. That was where she'd find help. That was where her parents would find her. She tried to convince herself. With her lungs on fire and her muscles screaming with exhaustion, Emma finally spotted the station's lights. Summoning her last reserves of strength, she sped up. "Help!" she shouted, her voice hoarse and desperate. "Please, help!" The station doors opened, and figures in uniforms ran toward her. Emma staggered the last few steps before collapsing into the arms of a female firefighter. "My brothers, she gasped, lifting the twins. "Save my parents." As consciousness slipped away, Emma's last vision was of the night sky. They weren't stars she saw, but ashes. Thousands of tiny glowing embers rising into the darkness, carrying with them the remains of her old life. The world went dark, and Emma drifted into unconsciousness, not knowing that her life and that of her brothers had changed forever that Christmas night. The alarm blared through the fire station, a shrill sound cutting through the stillness of Christmas night. Marie, the firefighter on duty, jumped up, her heart pounding with familiar adrenaline. But what she saw when she opened the station's doors made her freeze for a moment. A girl, no more than 10 years old, staggered toward her. Her bare feet left bloody tracks in the snow. In her arms, she carried a bundle that moved and made faint sounds. "Help," the girl whispered, her voice barely audible, before collapsing. Marie moved in a heartbeat, catching the girl and the bundle before they hit the ground. The smell of smoke was intense. "Jake! Tom! I need help here!" Marie shouted, carrying the children inside. Her colleagues rushed over, their eyes widening at the scene. Jake took the unconscious girl from Marie's arms, while Tom helped with the bundle. "My God!" Tom gasped as he unwrapped the blanket. "They're babies, twins." Their tiny faces were smeared with soot, their whimpers weak and cut short by coughs. "Call an ambulance," Marie ordered, starting first aid procedures on the twins. Her fingers trembled slightly as she checked their airways, the room filled with frantic activity. Captain Johnson emerged from his office, his face a mask of concern. "What happened?" "Fire, sir," Jake replied, working over the older girl. She arrived carrying the babies. Marie focused on the twins, her training taking over. She gently cleared their mouths and noses, murmuring words of comfort as she worked. "Come on, little ones. Breathe for me." As if responding to her plea, one of the babies let out a strong cry, followed by the other. Marie felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Good boys," she whispered, tears of gratitude glistening in her eyes. A coughing sound caught her attention. The older girl was waking up, her eyes opening wide with panic. "The babies!" she cried, trying to get up. "Easy, sweetheart," Jake said gently, holding her down. "Your baby brothers are fine, they're with Marie." The girl turned her head, her eyes meeting Marie's. The relief in her gaze was palpable. "You saved them," Marie said, her voice thick with emotion. "You were so brave." Tears began to stream down the girl's soot-streaked face. "My parents," she sobbed. They were still inside. A heavy silence fell over the station, broken only by the distant sound of sirens. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Captain Johnson asked gently, kneeling beside her. The girl swallowed hard, looking suddenly smaller and more fragile. "Emma," she whispered. "Emma Thompson." The impact was immediate. Marie felt as if she'd been punched in the stomach. Around her, she saw shock and disbelief on her colleagues' faces. "Thompson," the captain repeated, his voice trembling. "Daughter of Michael and Sarah Thompson." Emma nodded, more tears falling. Captain Johnson staggered back, leaning on a nearby table for support. His face was pale, eyes wide with horror. "My God," he murmured. "Michael." The realization hit them all like a wave. Michael Thompson, a retired firefighter, a local hero, a dear friend. Sarah, his wife, known for her volunteer work in the community. The first sob came from Tom, a guttural sound of pain that seemed to open floodgates. In seconds, the station was filled with stifled weeping and silent tears. Marie felt her own heart break. She'd worked with Michael for years, attended his wedding to Sarah, and celebrated when they learned Emma was on the way. Holding the twins tighter, she looked at Emma. The girl observed the scene with confusion and pain, as if only now truly grasping the magnitude of her loss. Marie moved, sitting beside Emma with the babies. Without a word, Emma leaned into her small body trembling with sobs. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart," Marie whispered, her voice choked. So sorry." Captain Johnson composed himself, wiping tears with the back of his hand. "Rescue teams are on their way to the Thompsons' house," he informed, his voice rough. "We'll do everything we can." But the look he exchanged with Marie said it all. Both knew, given Emma and the twins' condition, that the chances were slim. The sound of approaching sirens grew louder, and soon paramedics entered the station. While they examined the children, Marie found herself unable to let go of Emma's hand. "They need to go to the hospital," one of the paramedics said. "For observation." Marie nodded, then looked at Emma. "I'll go with you, okay? I won't leave you alone." Emma squeezed her hand in response, her eyes filled with fear and gratitude. As they prepared to leave, Marie pulled Captain Johnson aside. "Sir, Go with them, Marie," he said softly. "They need you now." Marie hesitated, then spoke quietly. When we have news about Michael and Sarah." The captain nodded, understanding. "I'll call you myself." Marie swallowed the lump in her throat and turned back to the children. As she helped get Emma and the twins into the ambulance, she made a silent promise. "I'll take care of you," she murmured. No matter what happens." The ambulance doors closed, and they headed to the hospital, leaving behind a fire station in mourning, united in their pain over the loss of one of their own and determined to honor his legacy by caring for the children he left behind. Dawn brought a scene of desolation. Where once a festive street had stood, now only smoldering debris remained, accompanied by the bitter smell of charred wood. Exhausted firefighters, after a night battling the flames, searched through the ashes with faces marked by soot and sorrow. Captain Johnson stood before what remained of the Thompson home, his gaze fixed on the blackened ruins. Every piece of charred wood felt like a ton weighing on his heart. "Captain," a soft voice called. It was Dave, one of the fire investigators. "We found something." Johnson closed his eyes for a moment, steeling himself. With a nod, he followed Dave into the skeleton of the house. The floor creaked dangerously beneath their feet as they advanced. Dave stopped near what had once been the staircase to the second floor. "There," he pointed, voice trembling slightly. Johnson looked and felt his heart sink. Two bodies, embraced, partially covered by debris. Even in death, Michael and Sarah Thompson seemed to be protecting each other. "My God, Michael," Johnson murmured, dropping to his knees. "Why didn't you get out?" Dave placed a hand on the captain's shoulder. "From what we can reconstruct, it looks like they got trapped trying to reach the children's rooms." Johnson nodded, unable to speak. Michael, always the hero until the very end. As the team worked to remove the bodies, Johnson stepped back and took out his phone. He had a call to make, a promise to keep. At the hospital, Marie sat beside Emma's bed, watching the girl sleep fitfully. The twins were in incubators nearby, their tiny chests rising and falling rhythmically. The phone vibrated in her pocket. Marie answered, her heart racing when she saw the Captain Johnson's name. "Sir," she answered, her voice low to avoid waking Emma. "Marie," the captain's voice was hoarse. We found them." Marie closed her eyes, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. She didn't need to ask anything more. "I understand," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. "How are the children?" Johnson asked after a moment of silence. "Stable. The twins are responding well to treatment." "Emma?" Marie looked at the sleeping girl. "She's fighting." "Marie, we have another issue," Johnson continued. "Social workers are on their way. They want to discuss the children's future." Marie felt a wave of protectiveness wash over her. "Understood, sir. I'll be waiting." No sooner had she hung up than Emma began to stir, murmuring in her sleep. "No, fire! Mum, Dad! Shh! It's all right," Marie whispered, holding Emma's hand. "You're safe." Emma's eyes flew open, filled with terror. "Marie!" she gasped, clinging to the firefighter. "I'm here, sweetheart," Marie said, hugging her, feeling the small body tremble. "I'm right here," Emma cried silently in Marie's arms for long minutes. When she finally calmed down, she looked at Marie with red, swollen eyes. "They didn't come back, did they?" she asked in a small, broken voice. Marie felt her heart shatter. "No, sweetheart, they didn't come back." Emma nodded slowly, as if she already knew the answer. "What happens to us now?" Before Marie could answer, there was a knock at the door. Her middle-aged woman entered, followed by Captain Johnson. "Good morning," the woman said, her voice professional but gentle. "I'm Susan from Social Services. We need to discuss a few things." Marie felt Emma shrink against her. "This is not a good time," she began, but Susan interrupted. "Unfortunately, we can't delay. We need to determine a temporary home for the children as soon as possible." What followed was a tense discussion, voices occasionally rising. Susan spoke of protocols and procedures, while Marie and Captain Johnson argued that the children needed familiarity and stability. Emma watched it all, eyes wide, her fear visibly growing. Finally, Marie stood up, her voice firm. "I'll take care of them." Everyone in the room turned to her, surprised. "Marie," Captain Johnson began, but she interrupted him. "I knew Michael and Sarah. They were my friends. These children know me. I can offer a stable, safe home while all this is sorted out." Susan seemed skeptical. "Miss Durand." "Marie Durand. Miss Durand, I understand your desire to help, but there are procedures to follow, assessments, home visits." "Then do them," Marie replied, determined. "But don't separate these children. They've already lost too much." Captain Johnson intervened. "I can vouch for Marie's character. She's one of the finest firefighters I've ever known. If she says she can care for these children, I believe her." Susan looked from Marie to the captain, then to Emma, who clung to Marie as if her life depended on it. With a sigh, Susan nodded. "All right. We can arrange a temporary guardianship while we evaluate the situation. But it will require a lot of work, Miss Durand." Marie looked at Emma, then at the twins in their incubators. "I'm ready." The following hours were a whirlwind of paperwork and arrangements. By nightfall, Marie found herself at home with 3 frightened, traumatized children. Emma refused to sleep, afraid Marie would disappear if she closed her eyes. The twins, sensing the tension in the air, cried incessantly. Marie moved from one room to another, soothing babies, comforting Emma, fighting her own exhaustion and grief. Around 3 in the morning, with the twins finally asleep, Marie found Emma curled up on the living room couch, staring intently at the Christmas tree Marie hadn't had time to take down. "Hey, little one," Marie said softly, sitting beside her. "Aren't you sleepy?" Emma shook her head, her eyes still fixed on the twinkling lights. "Every time I close my eyes, I see the fire." Marie felt her heart clench. Gently, she pulled Emma close, wrapping her in an embrace. "I know your dad once told me something about fire," Marie began, her voice soft in the darkness of the room. "He said fire can destroy, but it can also purify. It can end the old, but it also makes room for something new to grow." Emma looked at her, tears glistening in her eyes. "How can something good come from this?" Marie kissed the top of Emma's head. "I don't know, sweetheart, but I promise we'll find out together, okay?" Slowly, Emma's eyes grew heavy. Marie kept holding her, murmuring comforting words until the girl finally drifted off to sleep. Gazing at the child in her arms, Marie made a silent promise to Michael and Sarah. She would care for their children no matter what. From the ashes of this tragedy, she would help build something new, something good. With that thought, Marie finally allowed her own tears to fall, silent on the Christmas night that had changed everything. The sound of a crying baby woke Marie before sunrise. She got up automatically, heavy-eyed, and stumbled to the twins' makeshift nursery. It was Ethan this time, his little face red as he cried. "Shh, it's all right, little one," Marie murmured, gently lifting him. The smell of a soiled diaper hit her. "Ah, got it. Let's fix that." As she changed Ethan, Marie glanced at Oliver, still sleeping peacefully. It was a miracle one didn't wake the other with crying. With Ethan clean and fed, Marie settled him back into the crib. She was about to return to bed when she heard a muffled scream from Emma's room. Running, Marie found Emma sitting up, eyes wide with terror, her hands gripping the sheets. "Emma, sweetheart, what's wrong?" Marie asked softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. Fire," Emma stammered, tears streaming down her face. "I saw the fire again." Marie pulled Emma into a tight hug, feeling the child's heart racing against her chest. "It was just a nightmare, sweetheart. You're safe here." Emma sobbed against Marie's shoulder. "I want my mum," she whispered, her voice breaking. Marie swallowed the lump in her own throat. "I know, sweetheart. I know." They stayed like that for a long time, Marie gently rocking Emma until the girl's sobs subsided. When Emma finally calmed, Marie glanced at the clock, 5:30 p.m. "How about some hot chocolate?" she suggested, trying a smile. Emma nodded timidly, and together they went to the kitchen. As Marie prepared the drinks, she watched Emma, noticing the dark circles under the girl's eyes, the way she flinched at sudden noises. The day started early and intense. After breakfast, Marie rushed to get everyone ready for medical appointments. Dressing and feeding 2 babies and a traumatized child proved more challenging than any fire she had ever fought. At the hospital, the pediatrician examined the twins carefully, his brow furrowed with concern. "They still have some respiratory issues," he explained to Marie. "Smoke inhalation can have long-term effects. We'll need to monitor them closely." Marie nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "What can I do to help?" The doctor prescribed a series of treatments and medications, explaining each one in detail. Marie absorbed it all, determined to do whatever was needed for the twins' health. Meanwhile, Emma underwent her own evaluation with a child psychologist. When the session ended, the doctor pulled Marie aside. "Emma is dealing with severe trauma," she explained in a low voice. "She'll need regular therapy and a lot of emotional support." Marie looked at Emma, sitting quietly in the waiting room, hugging a teddy bear a nurse had given her. "I'll do whatever it takes," Marie promised. Back home, Marie found herself juggling feeding the twins, preparing lunch for Emma and trying to keep the house in order. She barely had time to check her phone messages. There were several missed calls from Captain Johnson. With a sigh, Marie returned the call while watching Emma play distractedly with her food. "Marie," the captain's voice sounded relieved. "How are things?" "Challenging," Marie admitted, "but we're managing." "Listen," Johnson continued, "I know you're on leave to care for the children, but we need you at the station this afternoon. There's an important meeting about the fire." Marie closed her eyes, feeling a pang of guilt. Her duty as a firefighter and her new responsibility to the children were in conflict. I'm not sure I can leave the kids, Captain," she began. "I've already thought of that," Johnson interrupted. "Sarah, Tom's wife, offered to stay with them for a few hours." Marie hesitated, looking at Emma, then at the twins sleeping in the playpen. "You're all right," she finally agreed. "I'll be there." When Sarah arrived, Marie spent nearly half an hour explaining the baby's routines and Emma's needs. Emma watched it all with anxious eyes. "You'll come back, won't you?" Emma asked as Marie was about to leave, her voice trembling slightly. Marie knelt to look Emma in the eye. "I promise I'll come back, sweetheart." "Always," Emma nodded, but her eyes were still filled with fear. Marie hugged her tightly before leaving, her heart heavy. At the station, the atmosphere was somber. The meeting was long and emotionally draining, with discussions about the cause of the fire, the response procedures, and how to honor Michael Thompson's memory. When it finally ended, Marie was exhausted. She was about to leave when Captain Johnson called her aside. "How are you really handling all this, Marie?" he asked gently. Marie hesitated, then let her defenses down a bit. "It's hard, Captain, harder than I ever imagined, but these kids need me." Johnson nodded, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone in this, Marie. We're all here to help." To prove his point, several colleagues approached, offering words of support and promises of help. Marie felt a wave of gratitude for her firefighter family. Returning home, Marie found Emma asleep on the couch, a storybook open on her chest. Sarah reported that the day had been quiet, with only a few moments of Emma's anxiety. After Sarah left, Marie sat beside Emma, gently brushing the girl's hair from her face. Emma stirred, her eyes opening slowly. "You came back," she murmured sleepily, a small smile forming on her lips. "I promised I would, didn't I?" Marie answered softly. Emma snuggled closer to Marie, who wrapped her arms around the girl. In that moment, with the twins sleeping peacefully and Emma safe at her side, Marie felt a renewed sense of determination. It would be difficult, yes. There would be challenging days and sleepless nights. But looking at Emma's sleepy face, Marie knew she would do it all again without hesitation. This was her new normal now. A temporary home that Marie was beginning to realize could become much more than that. With the support of her fellow firefighters and her own inner strength, she would face every challenge. Because these children, who had come to her amid fire and tragedy, had already found a permanent place in her heart. Marie stared at the preliminary fire investigation report, her heart racing with every line she read. The words "suspicious origin" and "possible criminal act" leaped from the page, unsettling her already burdened mind. "This doesn't make sense," she murmured, running a hand through her hair in frustration. Captain Johnson, sitting on the other side of the desk in his office at the fire station, sighed heavily. "I know, Marie, but the evidence doesn't lie. The pattern of fire spread, multiple points of origin. This wasn't an accident." Marie closed her eyes, feeling a wave of nausea. The idea that someone might have deliberately caused the fire that killed Michael and Sarah was almost unbearable. "But who would do this? And why?" she asked, her voice trembling with contained emotion. Johnson hesitated, then pulled a thick folder from his drawer. It might have something to do with Michael's last case before he retired. Marie took the folder, her eyes widening as she read the title, Operation Phoenix, Confidential. Michael was investigating a series of suspicious fires, Johnson explained as Marie flipped through the documents. He believed there was an organized network behind them, possibly involving high-ranking individuals. Marie felt a chill run down her spine. Did he discover something? "He was close," Johnson answered gravely. "But then came his forced retirement, an accident during a call that left him with a knee injury." Marie's mind spun with implications. "I think they forced him to retire to stop him from continuing the investigation." Johnson nodded slowly. "It's a possibility we can't ignore." Just then, Marie's phone vibrated. It was a message from Sarah, Tom's wife, who was watching the children. "Emma had another episode. She's asking for you." Marie rose abruptly. "Do I have to go?" she said to Johnson, who nodded in understanding. On the way home, Marie couldn't stop thinking about the revelations regarding Michael's past. She had always known him as a dedicated firefighter and loyal friend. The idea he had been involved in something so dangerous was disturbing. Arriving home, Marie found Emma curled up on the couch, eyes red from crying. "Hey, sweetheart," Marie said softly, sitting beside her. "I heard you had a tough day." Emma threw herself into Marie's arms, sobbing. "I saw the fire again," she whispered between sobs, "but this time there was a man." Marie froze. "A man? Which man, Emma?" Emma pulled away, her eyes distant as if reliving the memory. "He was outside the house before the fire started. Dad was shouting at him." Marie's heart raced. Could this be the missing piece of the puzzle? "Emma, sweetheart, can you remember anything else about this man?" Marie asked gently, trying not to scare the girl. Emma frowned, concentrating. He had a scar. Here." She pointed to her own cheek. Marie felt a shiver run down her spine. The description was vague, but it was a start. In the days that followed, Marie found herself torn between caring for the children and secretly investigating Michael's past. She reviewed old fire reports, discreetly spoke with other firefighters, and even made some calls to police contacts. During one of these investigations, Marie noticed something odd. A black car seemed to be parked on the street more often, always with someone watching her house. One night, while putting the twins to bed, Marie saw a figure moving in the shadows of the backyard. Her firefighter instincts, and now her maternal instincts, went on high alert. She ran to Emma's room, her heart pounding. "Emma, sweetheart, wake up," she whispered urgently. "We need to play a little game, okay? Let's hide, like hide and seek." Emma, still sleepy, nodded confusedly. Marie scooped up the twins and Hugh, with all three children, locked themselves in the basement, her phone already dialing Captain Johnson. "Someone's here," she whispered the moment he answered. "I think they're after the children." "We're on our way," Johnson responded immediately. "Stay put." The following minutes were the longest of Marie's life. She held the children close, trying to keep Emma calm and the twins quiet, while listening carefully for any sound from above. When she finally heard sirens approaching, Marie let out a sigh of relief, but she knew this was only the beginning. After the incident, with the house surrounded by police and firefighters, Marie made a decision. She couldn't just keep reacting. It was time to go on the offensive. "Captain," she called Johnson aside, "I need to know everything about Operation Phoenix. Everything." Johnson studied her for a long moment, then nodded gravely. "All right, Marie. But you must understand, once you go down this path, there's no turning back." Marie looked at Emma, who was being comforted by Sarah, and at the twins sleeping in Tom's arms. Her determination solidified. "I understand," she replied firmly. "But these children are my responsibility now. I'll do whatever it takes to keep them safe." The shadows of Michael Thompson's past were casting themselves over the present, threatening the future of the children he'd left behind. Marie knew the days ahead would be dangerous, but she was ready to face whatever came. Because now it was no longer just about discovering the truth. It was about protecting her new family, no matter the cost. The aroma of pancakes filled the kitchen as Marie skillfully flipped one in the pan. Beside her, Emma, standing on a stool, stirred more batter with intense concentration. "Like this, Emma?" the girl asked, holding the bowl up for inspection. Marie smiled, feeling a surge of pride. "Perfect, sweetheart. You're getting really good at this." The sound of crying came from the baby monitor. Marie turned to go, but Emma surprised her. "I'll get him, Marie," Emma said, hopping down from the stool. "You finished the pancakes." Marie watched, moved, as Emma ran to the twins' room. In the last few weeks, the girl had eagerly taken on the role of official helper with her brothers. Following Emma to the bedroom, Marie paused at the door, watching silently. Emma was already leaning over Oliver's crib, speaking softly. "It's okay, Ollie," she murmured, reaching out to rub the baby's belly. "Are your sisters here?" As if by magic, Oliver's sobs subsided, replaced by happy gurgles. Marie felt her heart expand with love for these children who had so unexpectedly come into her life. The day continued in their new family routine. After breakfast, it was time for the twins' medical checkup. In the pediatrician's office, Marie held Ethan while the doctor examined him. Emma, seated in the chair beside them, carefully held Oliver. "Well, I have great news," the doctor announced with a smile. "Their lung function has improved significantly. They're making real progress." Marie let out a sigh of relief she hadn't realized she was holding. "That's wonderful, doctor." "Hear that, Ollie?" Emma whispered to the baby in her arms. "You're getting stronger." As if in response, Oliver let out a small laugh, his first real smile. The sound filled the room, making everyone smile. "Look," Emma exclaimed, her eyes shining. "He smiled at me." Marie felt tears come to her eyes. Moments like this made all the sleepless nights and stressful days worthwhile. Back home, Marie found a message from Susan, the social worker. "I need to do a follow-up visit," the message read. "Would tomorrow afternoon be convenient?" Marie felt a knot in her stomach. Though she knew these visits were necessary, she couldn't help feeling anxious. The next morning, as Marie prepared the house for Susan's visit, she heard a commotion at the front door. Opening it, she found a group of her firefighter colleagues, led by Captain Johnson. "We came to help with some repairs," Johnson explained with a smile. "We thought you could use a hand." Marie was speechless, moved by their show of support. Throughout the day, the house was filled with the sound of hammers, laughter, and lively conversation. Emma followed the firefighters around, fascinated, asking endless questions about their jobs. When Susan arrived for her visit, she was greeted by a scene of familial activity and community support. Marie noticed the approving look in Susan's eyes as she watched Emma help one of the firefighters paint a wall. After the inspection, Susan pulled Marie aside. "I must say, Marie, I'm impressed. The children seem to be adapting well." Marie nodded, but hesitated. "They're incredible. Sometimes I worry if I'm doing enough." Susan smiled kindly. "Hey, it's natural to feel that way, but from what I see, you're providing exactly what these children need: stability, love, and support." Susan's words eased some of the fears Marie had been holding inside. Maybe she really could do this. That night, after everyone had left and the twins were asleep, Marie found Emma sitting quietly on the back porch. "Hey, sweetheart," Marie said softly, sitting beside her. "What are you thinking about?" Emma was silent for a moment, then spoke in a low voice. "I miss them. Mom and Dad." Marie felt her heart tighten. "I know, sweetheart. It's normal to miss them. Sometimes," Emma continued, her voice trembling slightly, "I'm afraid I'll forget what they were like." Marie pulled Emma closer, hugging her firmly. "We won't let that happen. How about we start a memory album? We can put photos in it and write down stories about them." Emma nodded against Marie's chest, then looked up. Her eyes were filled with tears, but there was a spark of hope in them. "Marie," she said hesitantly. "Yes, sweetheart. I know you're not my real mom, but would you mind if I call you Mom sometimes? Only when I really need to." Marie felt as if her heart would burst with emotion. She hugged Emma tighter, fighting her own tears. "Of course I don't mind, my love," she whispered. "You can call me whatever you want." Emma relaxed in the embrace, letting out a small sigh of relief. "Thank you, Mom." The word hovered in the night air, laden with meaning. Marie knew there was still a long road ahead, full of challenges and obstacles. But in that moment, with Emma in her arms and the twins sleeping peacefully inside, she felt a profound certainty. This was family, not defined by blood, but by love, by the choice to be there for each other, no matter what. And Marie knew, with every fiber of her being, that she would do anything to protect and love these children who had become her entire world. Marie woke with a start, her heart racing. Something had awakened her, a noise out of the ordinary. She rose silently, years of firefighter training sharpening her senses. Approaching the window, she saw a figure moving quickly through the yard. It wasn't the first time in recent weeks she'd noticed strange activity around the house. Hair standing on end, Marie checked all the doors and windows before heading to the twins' room. She found Emma already there, sitting between the two cribs, eyes wide in the dim light. "Emma, what are you doing awake, sweetheart?" "Protecting them," the girl whispered, her voice firm despite the fear in her eyes. "I heard a noise." Marie felt a mixture of pride and worry. Emma was becoming more protective of her brothers, a reflection of the trauma she had endured. "You did the right thing by staying alert," Marie said softly, sitting beside Emma. "But remember, it's my job to protect you." Emma nodded reluctantly, allowing herself to be guided back to bed. But even after Marie tucked her in, the girl kept her eyes on the door like a little sentinel. The next morning, Marie arrived at the fire station for her shift, her mind still heavy with the previous night's events. She was met by a visibly upset Captain Johnson. "Marie, we need to talk," he said, leading her to his office. Inside, Marie immediately noticed broken glass on the floor, the remains of what had been the office window. "What happened?" Johnson sighed heavily. "Vandalism, but not just that." He handed Marie a crumpled piece of paper. "We found this with the brick that smashed the window." Marie felt her blood turn cold as she read the message. "Stay away from the Thompson children, or there will be consequences." "This can't be a coincidence," Marie murmured, her mind racing. "First strangers around the house, now this." "Marie," Johnson said, his voice grave, "I think it's time we consider that you and the children might be in real danger." In the days that followed, Marie dove into a frenzied investigation. Using her contacts in the police department and combing through Michael's old files, she unearthed disturbing information. Michael Thompson had apparently made some powerful enemies in his last investigation. Names of influential businessmen and even some corrupt officials began to surface, all potentially linked to a network of criminal fires Michael was about to expose before his forced retirement. One evening, as Marie pored over documents scattered across the kitchen table, Emma appeared, rubbing sleepy eyes. "Mom," she called hesitantly, the word still new on her lips. "Emmett, is everything okay?" Marie quickly hid the most incriminating papers. "Sure, sweetheart. Just boring grown-up work. Go back to bed, okay?" But Emma didn't move, her eyes suddenly alert. She scanned the kitchen as if searching for invisible threats. "There are bad people after us, aren't there?" she asked abruptly. Marie felt as if she'd been punched in the gut. How could she explain something like this to a child who'd already lost so much? "Emma, I heard you talking on the phone," Emma continued, her voice trembling slightly. "About people who hurt Dad. They want to hurt us too." Marie knelt down, meeting Emma's gaze. "Listen, my love. I promise you that I will do everything, absolutely everything, to keep you and your brothers safe. Do you understand?" Emma nodded, then surprised Marie with a tight hug. "I know you will. You're strong like Dad was." Those simple words solidified Marie's decision. The next morning, she called an urgent meeting with her most trusted colleagues at the fire station. At the station, Marie laid out the situation, sharing her findings and concerns. The room fell silent with shock for a few moments before erupting into a cacophony of determined voices. "We're with you, Marie," Tom declared, his usually jovial face hardened by resolve. "Michael was one of us," added Sarah, Tom's wife, "which means these kids are family. And we protect family." One by one, everyone in the room offered their help. A plan began to take shape. Shifts of surveillance around Marie's house, discreet investigations into suspects, and preparations for a possible emergency evacuation. As the details were worked out, Marie felt overwhelmed by the outpouring of solidarity. These people, her colleagues and friends, were willing to risk everything to protect her and the children. Back home, Marie began secret preparations for a possible escape. Emergency bags were packed and hidden strategically. Escape routes were planned and memorized. Emma was instructed about a game they might have to play one day, involving leaving the house very quickly and quietly. One night, as Marie checked the locks for the umpteenth time, she heard a sound from the twins' room. Rushing there, she found Emma soothing Oliver, who had woken up crying. "Shh, it's all right, Ollie," Emma whispered. "Your big sister's here. Nothing bad will happen to you." Marie watched from the doorway, her heart filling with love and determination. These children, who had already lost so much, trusted her completely. She would not fail them. That night, lying in bed but unable to sleep, Marie reflected on how much her life had changed. Just months ago, she was just another dedicated firefighter. Now she was a mother, a protector, and possibly the only barrier between these innocent children and dangerous people who wanted to silence the truth Michael had discovered. The fear was there, of course. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure. But overriding the fear was a fierce resolve. Marie knew she would do anything, face any threat, to keep her new family safe. As sleep finally claimed her, Marie made a silent promise to Michael and Sarah Thompson. She would continue the work they had begun, protect their children, and no matter the cost, find the truth behind the fire that had changed all their lives. The shadows might be closing in around her, but Marie was determined to be the light that dispelled them, guiding Emma, Ethan, and Oliver toward a safe future filled with love. Emma's scream cut through the silence of the night, making Marie jump out of bed and rush to the girls' room. She found Emma sitting upright, eyes wide with terror, body trembling. "Emma, sweetheart, I'm here," Marie whispered, wrapping her arms around the girl. "I saw it again," Emma sobbed, clinging to Marie. "I saw it all over again." Marie stroked Emma's hair, her heart tight. The nightmares were frequent, but something about this one felt different. "Do you want to tell me about it?" Marie asked softly. Emma took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. "It was the night of the fires, but there was more. I remembered something I hadn't seen before." Marie felt a chill. "What did you see, Emma?" "A man," Emma whispered, her gaze distant. "He left our house just before the fire started. He was holding something and looked like a can." Marie's heart pounded. This could be the evidence they needed. "Emma, are you sure? Can you describe the man?" Emma frowned, concentrating. "He was tall, dark hair, and he had a scar on his face, near his eye." Marie felt as if the air had been knocked out of her lungs. Emma's description matched one of the suspects she and Captain Johnson had identified in their secret investigation. "Dart, you did so well to tell me this, Emma," Marie said, hugging the girl tighter. "You're very brave." After finally calming Emma and getting her back to bed, Marie found herself facing an agonizing dilemma. The information Emma had provided could be crucial, potentially unmasking the entire conspiracy. But sharing it would mean involving Emma directly, possibly putting her in even greater danger. Marie spent the night awake, weighing her options. By morning, with dark circles under her eyes and a difficult decision made, she called Captain Johnson. "We need to talk," she said when he answered. "In private. It's about the case." They met in a quiet cafe away from the station. Marie shared Emma's revelation, watching Johnson's face go through shock, anger, and finally determination. "This changes everything," Johnson said, his voice low and intense. "With this information, we can finally move forward in the investigation." "But at what cost?" Marie questioned, worry clear in her voice. "If they find out Emma remembered..." Johnson nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "We'll keep it between us for now. We'll use the information to guide our investigation, but we won't mention the source." Little did they know their conversation hadn't gone unnoticed. A man sitting a few tables away stood up quietly, making a discreet phone call as he left the cafe. In the days that followed, Marie felt the tension increase. Unfamiliar cars drove slowly down her street more often. Once, she thought she saw the metallic glint of a camera aimed at her house. The final straw came in the form of another anonymous letter, delivered directly to her mailbox. "We know what the girl saw. Back off while you still can." The panic Marie felt was quickly replaced by a fierce determination. It was time to act. In an emergency meeting with Johnson and her most trusted colleagues, Marie laid out the situation. The decision was unanimous. It was time to hide Marie and the children. "We've discovered something big," Johnson revealed, spreading documents on the table. Michael's investigation wasn't just about isolated criminal fires. He'd uncovered a complex network involving insurance fraud, money laundering, and possibly even human trafficking. Marie's stomach churned. The magnitude of the conspiracy was terrifying. "Some important names are involved," Johnson continued. "Business people, politicians, even some members of the police department. That's why they're so desperate to silence us," Marie concluded, the weight of the situation pressing on her. The plan was made quickly. Marie and the children would be taken to a safe location, a secluded cabin owned by one of the firefighters' family members. Meanwhile, Johnson and the team would continue the investigation, now armed with new information. That night, Marie gathered Emma and the twins, explaining they would go on a surprise trip. "Is it because of the bad men?" Emma asked, her eyes serious beyond her years. Marie hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, sweetheart. But don't worry, we'll be safe, and soon this will be over." As they packed, Marie couldn't help feeling a mix of fear and determination. They were getting closer to the truth, but the danger had never been more real. In the dead of night, a discreet convoy of 3 cars left Marie's house. In one, Marie drove with Emma beside her and the twins safely strapped in their car seats. In the others, armed and alert firefighters, ready for anything. As the city lights faded behind them, Marie cast one last glance in the rearview mirror. Her life had changed irrevocably since that fateful Christmas Eve. Now, she was not just a firefighter or a foster mother. She was a protector, an investigator, someone willing to face a dangerous conspiracy to protect the children who had become her world. The road ahead was uncertain and full of danger, but Marie knew she was not alone. With truth on her side and the support of loyal friends, she was prepared to face whatever came. As the car sped through the dark road, Marie made a silent promise to Michael and Sarah Thompson. She would uncover the truth, ensure justice, and above all, keep their children safe. The final confrontation was approaching, and Marie was determined to win no matter the cost. The silence of the secluded cabin was shattered by the shrill sound of an alarm. Marie woke instantly, body tense and alert. She ran to the children's room, finding Emma already up, eyes wide with fear. "Mom, did they find us?" Emma whispered, voice trembling. Marie nodded grimly. "Yes, sweetheart. But don't worry, we have a plan." With quick, precise movements, Marie picked up the still sleeping twins while instructing Emma to grab the emergency backpack. Years of firefighting had prepared her for crises, but nothing had fully prepared her for this moment. They had barely reached the living room when the front door exploded. sending splinters of wood flying through the air. Marie shielded the children with her body, feeling fragments hit her back. Through the smoke and dust, 3 shadowy figures emerged. Leading them was a tall man with a scar near his eye, exactly as Emma had described. "End of the line, firefighter," he growled, a cruel smile twisting his features. "Hand over the children and maybe we'll let you live." Marie felt a wave of fury surge through her. "Never," she hissed, slowly backing toward the rear exit. At that moment, chaos erupted. The windows shattered as Marie's colleagues, who had been on watch outside, stormed the cabin. The sound of gunfire filled the air, mingled with the frightened cries of the children. "Emma, run to the basement now!" Marie shouted, pushing the twins into the girls' arms. With courage that surprised even Marie, Emma grabbed her brothers and ran, skillfully dodging debris and scuffles. Marie turned to face the intruders, her mind racing to form a plan. She saw Captain Johnson engaged in hand-to-hand combat with one of the men, while Tom tried to subdue another. The man with the scar advanced toward Marie, a gun aimed at her chest. "Where are the children?" he demanded. "You'll never touch them," Marie snarled, launching herself at him in a desperate move. They fell, rolling on the floor in a frantic struggle. Marie tasted blood in her mouth when his fist connected with her face, but she didn't relent. With a quick move, she disarmed the man, sending the gun skidding across the floor. Meanwhile, in the basement, Emma crouched in a dark corner, holding the twins tightly. She could hear the fight above, each crash making her heart jump. "It's going to be okay," she whispered to the babies, though her voice trembled. "Marie will save us," she promised. Suddenly, the basement door was flung open. Emma stifled a scream as one of the intruders came down the stairs, eyes scanning the darkness. In a flash of courage, Emma made a decision. Placing the twins gently behind some boxes, she took a deep breath and stepped out of hiding. "Hey, you big jerk!" she shouted, her voice echoing in the basement. "I'm here!" The man turned, a malicious smile forming on his face. Well, what do we have here?" Emma ran, luring the man away from where the twins were hidden. Her heart pounded wildly, but she stayed focused on one thing, protecting her brothers. Above, the fight raged on. Marie and her colleagues battled fiercely, but they were outnumbered. Then, the scarred man, bleeding from a cut on his forehead, played his final card. "Enough of this," he shouted, holding up a small device. "Either you surrender, or I blow this place up with everyone inside." Time seemed to freeze. Marie looked at the detonator in his hand, her blood running cold. She recognized that kind of device, just like those used in sophisticated arson attacks. "That's how you killed Michael and Sarah, isn't it?" Marie asked, her voice filled with rage and pain. "A fire to cover up the truth." The man laughed, a cold, humorless sound. "Michael Thompson was digging too deep. He uncovered our operation, the fires, the insurance fraud, everything. We had to silence him." "But why?" Johnson asked, still holding one of the goons pinned down. "Why go so far?" "Money, power, the usual," the man replied casually. "Our clients pay well to have their problems solved by a convenient fire, and Thompson was about to expose it all." Marie felt a wave of nausea. So many lives lost, so many families destroyed, all for greed. At that moment, a scream from the basement froze Marie's blood. "Emma!" she cried, her heart racing with fear. Taking advantage of the distraction, Marie lunged at the man with the detonator. They fell, wrestling for control of the device. Marie felt her fingers brush the detonator, and in a desperate move, she tore it from his hand. "Johnson, catch!" she shouted, tossing the device to the captain. With the detonator secure, the tide of the battle turned. The firefighters, trained and fit, quickly subdued the remaining invaders. Marie rushed to the basement, her heart threatening to leap from her chest. She found Emma cornered by one of the men, but the girl showed no fear. Her eyes shone with fierce determination. Without hesitation, Marie tackled the attacker, sending them rolling on the floor in a fierce struggle. But powered by adrenaline and the desire to protect the children, Marie soon gained the upper hand. With the last invader subdued, Marie turned to Emma, pulling her into a tight embrace. "You were so brave," she whispered, tears running down her face. Emma smiled weakly. "I just did what you would do. I protected my family." The sound of sirens announced the police's arrival. In minutes, the cabin was filled with officers, paramedics, and investigators. As the criminals were led away in handcuffs, Marie gathered the children, checking them anxiously for injuries. The twins, miraculously, had slept through most of the confrontation, waking only at the sound of sirens. Captain Johnson approached Marie, his expression a mix of relief and admiration. "It's over, Marie. We have everything we need to dismantle the entire operation. Their confessions, combined with the evidence we've gathered, it's the end of the line for them." Marie nodded, feeling a wave of emotion. Relief, exhaustion, but above all a sense of justice for Michael and Sarah. As paramedics tended to their minor injuries, Emma huddled close to Marie, clutching her hand tightly. "Mom?" she asked softly. "Yes, sweetheart. Can we go home now?" Marie smiled, pulling Emma closer. "Yes, my love. We can go home." As the sun rose on the horizon, illuminating the chaotic scene around the cabin, Marie looked at the three children beside her, Emma, exhausted but proud, and the twins, oblivious to the danger they had faced. In that moment, Marie knew their journey was far from over. There would be statements to give, trials to face, and much to explain as the children grew older. But one thing was certain: they would face it all together, as a family. The fire that once threatened to destroy them had, ironically, forged bonds stronger than Marie ever imagined possible. With that strength, they were ready to face any challenge the future might bring. The weeks following the confrontation at the cabin were a whirlwind of statements, medical exams, and endless meetings. Marie found herself torn between caring for the children and cooperating with authorities to ensure that those responsible for the fire that killed Michael and Sarah Thompson were properly punished. On a sunny morning, Marie accompanied Emma to an appointment with Dr. Sophia, a child therapist specializing in trauma. Emma, usually talkative, was unusually quiet. "It's okay to be nervous," Marie said softly, squeezing Emma's hand. Emma nodded, her eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and determination. "I know. But if this helps me get stronger so I can protect Ethan and Oliver, I'll do it." Marie's heart tightened at the weight Emma placed on herself. "Sweetheart, remember, you're an amazing child, but you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. We're all here to help." The session lasted an hour, and when Emma emerged, her eyes were red, but there was a small smile on her face. "How was it?" Marie asked gently. "Hard," Emma admitted. "But Dr. Sophia said, I'm very brave, and that it's okay to cry and feel scared sometimes." Marie hugged Emma, feeling a wave of pride and love. She's absolutely right. The next day, Marie took the twins for their monthly checkup. Dr. Martinez, who had been following them since the fire, wore a genuine smile as he examined Ethan and Oliver. "I have great news," he announced. "Their lung function has improved significantly. They're practically at the same level as babies who never inhaled smoke." Marie felt tears of relief welling up. "That's wonderful, Doctor." "You see that, Oliver?" Emma whispered, leaning over to the baby in Marie's arms. "You're getting so strong," the doctor continued. "It's a testament to the care you've given them, Marie. These children are lucky to have you." Those words, though comforting, brought to the surface a concern Marie had been trying to suppress. What would the future hold for her and the children? The temporary guardianship wouldn't last forever. That same afternoon, Susan, the social worker, made a surprise visit. "Marie, we need to discuss next steps," Susan said, her tone professional but not lacking compassion. "The custody hearing is approaching." Marie felt her stomach drop. "Already? But the children are still adjusting. Emma just started therapy." Susan nodded understandingly. "I know, Marie, and I'll be honest, you've done an amazing job with these children. But the court will want to ensure this is the best long-term situation for them." Before Marie could respond, the doorbell rang. It was Captain Johnson and several other firefighters. "We hope we're not interrupting," Johnson said, noticing Susan's presence. But we wanted to discuss something important with you, Marie. In the following minutes, Marie watched, moved, as her colleagues presented Susan with a series of letters, statements, and even a petition signed by the entire firefighting community and many local residents. We've all witnessed the love and dedication Marie has shown these children, Johnson explained. So we strongly believe the best place for them is here, with her. Susan examined the documents, visibly impressed. This will certainly carry significant weight in the judge's decision, she admitted. Marie felt a surge of gratitude for her colleagues, but before she could thank them, another knock at the door interrupted. A man in a suit introduced himself as Daniel Reynolds, an insurance investigator. "Sorry to intrude," he said politely but firmly. "I have some questions about the Thompson house fire." Marie exchanged worried looks with Captain Johnson. With all the revelations about the conspiracy behind the fire, they hadn't considered the insurance implications. "Mr. Reynolds," Marie began cautiously. "Given the sensitive nature of the case and the ongoing criminal investigation, perhaps it's best to schedule an official meeting with our lawyers present." Reynolds nodded, though his eyes revealed unsatisfied curiosity. "I understand. But I should warn you that any irregularities discovered may significantly affect any insurance claims related to the incident." After Reynolds left, Marie found herself surrounded by worried faces. The complexity of the situation seemed to grow by the minute. "Don't worry," Johnson reassured her. "We'll handle that too. Right now, focus on the custody hearing." That night, after putting the children to sleep, a particularly tough task with Emma still shaken by the day's events, Marie allowed herself a moment of vulnerability. Sitting on the porch, gazing at the stars, she let the tears she'd been holding back flow freely. The sound of small footsteps alerted her to Emma's presence. The girl, without a word, snuggled up beside Marie, offering silent comfort. "It's all right, Mom," Emma whispered after a moment. "We're a family now. Nobody can change that." Marie hugged Emma, amazed by the child's wisdom and strength. "You're right, my love. We are a family. And we'll face this together." As the night sky sparkled above them, Marie felt her determination renew. The scars of the past were still there for all of them. But healing was happening, day by day, moment by moment. The way ahead was still uncertain, with legal and emotional challenges to overcome. But Marie knew that, with the love of these children and the support of her community, they could surmount any obstacle. The custody hearing approached, and with it, the chance to make official what their hearts already knew. They were a family, forged in the fire but held together by love. The courthouse was packed that morning. Marie, sitting stiffly beside her lawyer, could feel the weight of everyone's gaze on her. Emma, Ethan, and Oliver were in the next room under Sarah's care. Marie felt their absence as a physical ache. Judge Ramirez, a middle-aged man with keen eyes, called the session to order. "We are here to determine the permanent custody of Emma, Ethan, and Oliver Thompson," he announced, his voice echoing. "Miss Durand, please step forward." Marie stood, her legs shaking slightly. She took a deep breath, remembering why she was there. "Miss Durand," the judge began, "can you tell us why you believe you are the best option for these children's custody?" Marie looked the judge straight in the eye, her voice steady despite her nerves. "Your Honor, in recent months, these children have become my life. I love them as if they were my own. I promised Michael and Sarah Thompson, on the night I rescued these children from that fire, that I would care for them, and it's a promise I intend to keep for the rest of my life." Marie's testimony was followed by a series of moving statements. Captain Johnson spoke about Marie's dedication as a firefighter and as a caregiver. Fellow firefighters and neighbors described how Marie had rearranged her entire life to meet the children's needs. The most poignant moment came when Emma was called to testify. The girl, looking small but determined on the witness stand, gazed directly at the judge. "Your Honor," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I know you have to decide what's best for me and my baby brothers, but I want you to know that Marie, she's our mom now. She saved us not only from the fire, but every day since then. She makes us feel safe and loved. Please don't take us away from her." There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom after Emma's words. Marie fought back her own tears, her heart overflowing with love for the brave girl. Judge Ramirez seemed deeply moved. He was about to speak when the courtroom door suddenly opened. Daniel Reynolds, the insurance investigator, rushed in, followed by 2 police officers. "Excuse me, Your Honor," he said, out of breath, "but I have crucial information that directly affects this case." The judge frowned, visibly annoyed by the interruption. "Mr. Reynolds, this is a closed hearing. What could be so important?" Reynolds approached, handing a folder to the judge. "Evidence, Your Honor, suggesting that the Thompson house fire was not just a tragic accident or a criminal act by strangers. Our investigations indicate it was part of an elaborate insurance fraud scheme involving Michael Thompson himself." A shocked murmur spread through the room. Marie felt as if the floor had dropped out from under her feet. "Now this is absurd," Captain Johnson exclaimed, standing up. "Michael was a hero, not a criminal." The judge raised his hand for silence, examining the documents. His expression grew more grave with each page. "Miss Durand," the judge finally said, "were you aware of these allegations?" Marie, still stunned, shook her head. "No, Your Honor. This can't be true." Emma, still on the stand, looked around confused and scared. "What's happening? Why are they saying these bad things about my dad?" Chaos erupted in the courtroom. Voices rose, accusations flew, theories were formed in real time. The judge banged his gavel repeatedly, trying to restore order. "Silence!" he finally thundered. "Given these new and disturbing revelations, I have no choice but to suspend this hearing. We must fully investigate these claims before making any decision about the Thompson children's custody." Marie felt her world crumble. Everything she had fought for in recent months seemed to be slipping through her fingers. "Marie!" Emma's voice cut through the confusion. The girl ran to her, throwing herself into Marie's arms. "Don't let them separate us. Dad wouldn't do this. I know he wouldn't." Marie hugged Emma tightly, her own shock momentarily forgotten in the need to comfort the child. "Shh. It's all right, sweetheart. We'll find out the truth, I promise." As the courtroom emptied, Marie found herself surrounded by her fellow firefighters, all with expressions of shock and disbelief. "This makes no sense," Tom murmured. "Michael, involved in fraud." Captain Johnson looked as though he'd aged 10 years in minutes. "Marie," he said gravely, "we need to get to the bottom of this. For Michael's memory and for the children's future." Marie nodded, a fierce determination replacing her initial shock. "You're right, Captain. I won't let Michael's memory be tarnished, nor let these children suffer more than they already have." That night, after putting the children to bed, a particularly difficult task with Emma still upset by the revelations, Marie sat at the kitchen table, spreading out all the documents and information she had. She knew what she was about to do was risky. Investigating on her own, especially with legal implications, could jeopardize her chances of gaining custody. But Marie saw no other option. She owed it to Michael, Sarah, and above all, the children. "What are you hiding, Michael?" Marie murmured, looking at an old photo of her former colleague. But what really happened that night? With a strong cup of coffee and determination burning in her chest, Marie immersed herself in the documents. She knew that somewhere, buried among insurance reports, statements, and forensic evidence, lay the truth. And she would find it, no matter the cost, because now more than ever, the future of her family depended on it. The incendiary truths revealed that day might have shaken their foundations, but Marie was determined to build something even stronger from the ashes. The fire had shaped their lives once, and now, again, they would have to walk through flames to find the redemption and peace they so deserved. The days following the suspended hearing were a whirlwind of frantic activity for Marie. During the day, she struggled to maintain a semblance of normalcy for the children, but nights were devoted to exhaustive investigation into Michael Thompson's past. One of those nights, while searching through a box of old documents Sarah had saved, Marie discovered something disturbing: several overdue notices and final demands for payment. Apparently, the Thompsons were facing serious financial difficulties in the months before the fire. "Why didn't you ask for help, Michael?" Marie murmured, feeling a mix of sadness and frustration. A soft sound made her look up. Emma stood in the kitchen doorway, rubbing sleepy eyes. "Emma, sweetheart, what are you doing up?" Marie asked gently. The girl approached, her eyes fixed on the papers scattered across the table. I had a dream about Mom and Dad. Marie pulled Emma into her lap, hugging her. So want to tell me about it? Emma hesitated, then spoke quietly. They were arguing. Dad looked worried, and Mom was crying. I think it wasn't just a dream. I think it really happened, just before the fire. Marie's heart pounded. Why do you remember what they were arguing about? Something about money, and Dad saying he would find a way to fix everything, Emma answered, her voice shaking slightly. Marie hugged Emma tighter, her mind racing. Was this the missing piece of the puzzle? In the days that followed, Marie intensified her investigation. She contacted Michael's former colleagues, combed through bank records, and even risked a discreet visit to the fire site, now just an empty lot surrounded by police tape. During that visit, Marie made an intriguing discovery. Hidden among the debris, she found a partially melted flash drive. With her heart racing, she took it to a data recovery specialist. While waiting for results, Marie confronted two of Michael's former colleagues, whom she suspected were involved somehow. You're digging too deep, Durand, one warned, his tone threatening. Some truths are better left buried. Marie didn't flinch. Michael was a good man. He deserves to have the truth known, whatever it is. Back home, Marie found Emma, Ethan, and Oliver unusually quiet. The tension of the last few days was clearly affecting them. Mom, Emma said hesitantly, we're going to stay together, aren't we? They're not going to take us away. The fear in Emma's voice broke Marie's heart. She knelt down, meeting the girl's gaze. I promise you, Emma, I'll do everything I can to keep our family together. You are what matters most to me. That night, the data recovery specialist called Marie. You need to see this immediately, he said, his voice urgent. Marie rushed to the lab, her heart pounding. What she found in the recovered flash drive left her breathless. There were emails, audio recordings, and detailed documents outlining an elaborate network of blackmail and corruption. Michael was not a perpetrator, but a victim. He had discovered the insurance fraud scheme and was gathering evidence to expose it. But the real criminals had cornered him, threatening his family if he didn't cooperate. The last entry was an audio recording dated the day of the fire. Michael's voice, tense and determined, filled the room. If something happens to me, let the truth be known. I, Michael Thompson, am not complicit in this criminal scheme. I am gathering evidence to expose the real culprits. Sarah, Emma, Ethan, Oliver, I love you. I hope one day you can understand and forgive me for putting you in danger. I'll do whatever it takes to protect you. Marie felt tears stream down her face. Michael wasn't a criminal, but a hero until the end, willing to sacrifice everything to do the right thing. With the proof in hand, Marie knew she had to act quickly. She called an emergency meeting with her lawyer and Captain Johnson. This changes everything, the lawyer said, examining the evidence. With this, we can not only clear Michael's name, but also expose the real criminals. Captain Johnson, visibly emotional, placed a hand on Marie's shoulder. Michael would be proud of you, Marie. You never gave up on him or the children. Marie nodded, determined. Now we need to prepare for the resumed hearing. It's time for the truth to come out. In the days leading up to the hearing, Marie worked tirelessly with her lawyer and the authorities to organize all the evidence. She knew what she was about to reveal would shake many people, possibly even some fellow firefighters. On the eve of the hearing, Marie gathered Emma, Ethan, and Oliver in the living room. The twins, now older and more aware, played on the rug, while Emma snuggled beside Marie on the couch. Tomorrow is an important day, Marie began softly. We'll tell the judge everything we discovered about your dad. Emma looked at Marie, her eyes filled with hope and fear. And after that, can we stay together forever? Marie pulled Emma into a tight embrace, extending her arms to include the twins. That's what I want most in the world, my loves. And I promise, no matter what happens tomorrow, I'll fight with all my strength to keep our family together. As she hugged the children, Marie felt a mix of determination and apprehension. Tomorrow, the truth would come out, and with it, the hope of a new beginning for their unexpected family, forged in tragedy but strengthened by love and perseverance. The path ahead was still uncertain, but Marie was ready to face any challenge, because now she knew beyond a doubt that she was fighting not just for Michael and Sarah's memory, but for Emma, Ethan and Oliver's future, her family's future. The courtroom was packed on the morning of the resumed hearing. The tension was palpable as all eyes turned to Marie, who entered with unwavering determination etched on her face. Emma, Ethan and Oliver sat in the front row beside Captain Johnson and other firefighters. Judge Ramirez struck the gavel, calling the session to order. "Miss Durand," he began, his tone grave, "I understand you have new evidence to present. Proceed." Marie stood, taking a deep breath. "Your Honor, in the last few days, I conducted an exhaustive investigation into the events that led to Michael and Sarah Thompson's death. What I discovered not only clears Michael's name, but reveals a much larger conspiracy." With that, Marie began presenting the evidence recovered from the flash drive, emails, financial documents, and finally, Michael's audio recording played for the astonished court. Michael's voice rang clear and determined. "I am gathering evidence to expose the real culprits. I'll do whatever it takes to protect my family." A collective gasp of shock and disbelief swept through the room. Emma, hearing her father's voice for the first time since the fire, let out a muffled sob. Marie continued, her voice steady despite her emotion. Michael Thompson was not a criminal. He was a hero who discovered a massive fraud scheme and was secretly working to expose it. He was threatened and blackmailed, but never gave in to corruption. The insurance investigator, Daniel Reynolds, who had brought accusations against Michael in the previous hearing, looked visibly rattled. Marie stared at him directly. "Mr. Reynolds, I believe you were misled by the real criminals. The evidence shows that certain individuals within your own company were involved." Reynolds paled, glancing around frantically. Two men at the back of the courtroom tried to slip out quietly, but were quickly detained by officers Marie had strategically positioned. Judge Ramirez, visibly shaken by the revelations, ordered a recess so the authorities could process the new information and make the necessary arrests. When the session resumed, the atmosphere in the courtroom had changed dramatically. What began as a custody hearing had turned into something much bigger. Emma, tears in her eyes, asked for permission to speak. The judge, moved by the child's courage, nodded. "I always knew my dad was a hero," Emma said, her voice trembling with emotion. "He taught us to always do what's right, no matter how hard it is. And that's what he did until the end." Marie felt her heart swell with pride and love for Emma's courage. She stepped closer, placing a comforting hand on the girl's shoulder. Judge Ramirez cleared his throat, visibly moved. "Miss Durand, your dedication in uncovering the truth and clearing Michael Thompson's name is truly admirable. More than that, your devotion to these children is evident to everyone in this room." Marie held her breath, her heart pounding. And considering all the evidence presented, both about Miss Durand's character and the extraordinary circumstances that brought this unlikely family together, this court grants Marie Durand permanent custody of Emma, Ethan, and Oliver Thompson. The courtroom erupted in applause. Marie, hardly able to believe it, embraced Emma tightly, tears of joy streaming down her face. "It's official," she whispered to Emma. "We're a family now, forever." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity. The revelations in court triggered a massive investigation, leading to the arrest of several individuals involved in the fraud scheme. Michael Thompson's name was officially cleared, and he was posthumously honored for his courage and integrity. Finally, on Christmas Eve, exactly 1 year after the tragedy that had united their lives, Marie, Emma, Ethan, and Oliver gathered at the fire station for a special celebration. The station was festively decorated, with a large Christmas tree at its center, adorned with handmade ornaments by the children. Firefighters and their families gathered, creating a warm, welcoming atmosphere. Captain Johnson called for silence, his voice thick with emotion. This year taught us so much about loss, courage, and the true meaning of family. Today we not only celebrate Christmas, but also honor the memory of Michael and Sarah Thompson, and celebrate the new family that rose from the ashes of that tragedy. Emma stepped forward, surprising everyone by asking to speak. Marie nodded encouragingly, holding Ethan and Oliver in her arms. "A year ago, I lost my parents," Emma began, her small voice steady. "I thought I had lost everything. But then Marie saved us, not just from the fire, but every day since." She paused, looking lovingly at Marie and her brothers. "I learned that family isn't just about who gave you life, but who teaches you how to live it. Marie taught us about love, courage, and the importance of fighting for the truth." There wasn't a dry eye in the station after Emma finished her speech. Marie approached, hugging all three children tightly. Captain Johnson raised a glass. "To Michael and Sarah, who left us a legacy of courage. To Marie, Emma, Ethan, and Oliver, who show us that love can blossom even in the most unlikely circumstances. And to all of us, who form this great firefighter family." As everyone toasted, Marie looked around, her heart overflowing with gratitude. A year ago, she had been just another dedicated firefighter. Now she was the mother of three incredible children, part of a loving community, and guardian of a legacy of courage and integrity. Later that night, with the children sleeping soundly after the celebration, Marie found herself alone for a moment, looking out the window at the gently falling snow. "Thank you, Michael and Sarah," she whispered into the night. "I promise to take care of them with all the love and dedication you would have given. They will always know how brave and loving you were." A small sound made her turn around. Emma stood in the doorway, rubbing sleepy eyes. "Everything okay, Mum?" she asked. Marie smiled, opening her arms. Emma ran into her embrace. "Everything's perfect, my love," Marie replied. Together, mother and daughter looked out the window, watching the snowflakes dance in the night sky. The future stretched out before them, full of promises and possibilities. From the ashes of a tragedy, a new family had been reborn, forged in fire, tempered by trials and bound by a love that transcended blood. Marie knew that, no matter what the future held, they would face it together, as a true family. As the snow continued to fall, covering the world in a pure white mantle, Marie felt a deep peace settle in her heart. This was not the end of their journey, but the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with love, hope, and the promise of many happy Christmases to come.